We saw a big whale sell 80,000 Bitcoin just a couple of weeks ago. If you have held on to 1,000 Bitcoin for this long and you want to go monetize that, 80,000 Bitcoin for this long, and you want to go monetize that, it's billions of dollars, you know? Yeah, I mean, okay, how can you fault that? Go buy your chateau or your yacht or whatever that you're looking for and fund that lifestyle that you want, that you've held out for. Great, whatever, no big deal. But I think that some of these whales that are selling are turning around and saying, they're like, look, I've had 100, 200 or whatever X on my money already. I want to get to, like, right now, yeah, we may get a 10x in Bitcoin. I believe we get a 10x in Bitcoin over the next 7-8 years. That's nothing like I've experienced up to now.
Today we have Bitcoin bull James Lavish discussing the crypto market, why Bitcoin is being manipulated, and what his plan is for a crypto crash in the days and weeks ahead. Lavish acknowledges that giant firms on Wall Street, as well as institutional investors with billions of dollars, are making big moves in crypto, based on fear and uncertainty. He believes that the agenda of some of these buyers may not exactly be what people think, and to prepare for a major market fluctuation very soon. Major players like BlackRock have added significant positions to their crypto portfolios, and as the world's largest asset manager, putting its $10 trillion weight behind it, has triggered Wall Street's fear of missing out. Bitcoin's price currently sits just over $111,000, still down almost 5% in the past month. Thanks to BlackRock's significant influence, there's an increasingly strong belief that, in the not-too-distant future, we'll witness Bitcoin's price cross another all-time high, which will mark another historic milestone for the Bitcoin community. He believes Bitcoin has crossed the threshold into permanence and serves as the gateway for substantial institutional investments, drawing interest from sovereign wealth funds, major corporations, and even governments. And James Lavish believes we're on the verge of one of the biggest bull markets yet. Drop your comments down below and subscribe if you enjoy the content we do here.
What we see is somebody who goes and wants to build up a big position. They're gonna have to move the stock or the Bitcoin price or the Treasury price, because there's not a lot of volume out there. So this weekend and into today, we're seeing these large enough moves, multi-percent moves in Bitcoin. Sounds like a lot, $3,000, but it's really only 2.5%. Not that big of a deal for Bitcoin. But there's not a lot of volume, Brandon. It's like it's more of a buyer strike than a tsunami of sellers, So that's one thing. I think that Powell wants to solidify his legacy that he got the job done. He did not let inflation rage out of control, although it did rage, and it got nearly got out of control. And it was because of what the Fed did. Let's make that clear. They caused this problem. But he did put the fire out, and he wants to cement his legacy there. Now, the question is, what words does he use to do that? And I believe that he's going to come out and he's going to say that we're getting comfortable with the trajectory of inflation. We're more concerned about jobs, which means that it opens a door for a 25 basis point cut in September, which is a really big deal for stocks and risk assets and things like Bitcoin and gold, because it's an expansion of liquidity. Basically, you make the cost of capital lower, which is good for those kinds of assets and securities. And so, but I do believe he leaves the door open. And what you're seeing right now is some uncertainty. What kind of numbers are still coming? Because we still have another CPI, another PPI, another PCE. We got more unemployment numbers between now and the next September meeting, and he could change his mind like that. And so there's probably some uncertainty going on, and Bitcoin's definitely sniffing that out and getting a little nervous here. Again, on very light volume. That's a long answer to your question, but that's where I believe we're at right now in the general market. What kind of numbers are still coming? Because we still have another CPI, another PPI, another PCE. We got more unemployment numbers between now and the next September meeting, and he could change his mind like that. And so there's probably some uncertainty going on, and Bitcoin's definitely sniffing that out and getting a little nervous here. Again, on very light volume. I think that the data is giving Powell enough air cover, especially on the employment side, that he could ease by 25 basis points. And it's not that he's giving in to Trump. If he was giving it to Trump, he'd ease 50, because that's what Bissett just demanded. For all intents and purposes, again, he didn't tell him to do that. He said that the models are showing that we're 150 basis points, like 1.5% above neutral, which I think is aggressive. I think we're maybe 1% above neutral. But regardless, whatever models you're using, we are above, and we could ease. But and I think that it's time. And so the markets are starting to tell you that. And the stock market will suffer if he's terribly hawkish and he does not keep the door open for a rate cut. You're going to see a drawdown in the market. That's my opinion. I believe it's pretty obvious though. But I think Bitcoin and some of the tech stocks are getting nervous here. You had not great earnings this morning from some of the tech leaders, and so the Qs are off, and the S&P is kind of dragging a little bit, and Bitcoin is leading the way. It continues to be the tip of the risk spear. I don't believe it should be, but it is. We just have to recognize that. People have to get their heads around that, especially the maxis, who I agree with them that it shouldn't be, but it is right now because it's considered that way. And it's going to continue to trade that way until further notice. Well, I mean, we've seen whales selling. We saw a big whale sell 80,000 Bitcoin just a couple of weeks ago. Price barely moved. That's good news. Now the question is, are they selling to go fund a lifestyle that they've held out for? Which, hey, God bless. If you have held on to 1,000 Bitcoin for this long and you want to go monetize that, 80,000 Bitcoin for this long, and you want to go monetize that, it's billions of dollars, Yeah, okay. How can you fault that? Go buy your chateau or your yacht or whatever that you're looking for and fund that lifestyle that you want, that you've held out for. Great, whatever. No big deal. But I think that some of these whales that are selling are turning around and saying, they're like, look, I've had 100, 200 or whatever X on my money already. I want to get to, like, right now, yeah, we may get a 10X in Bitcoin. I believe we get a 10X in Bitcoin over the next 7-8 years. That's nothing like I've experienced up to now. The OGs, the whales that have been around for a long time. And so I think some of them want to remain in Bitcoin, but they want to get a little bit more out of it in this space. And there's a way to do that. The way to do that is to buy these Bitcoin Treasury companies, because they'll give you what will be a multiple on that return.
The ongoing adoption of Bitcoin by governments, institutions, and media signifies a broader recognition of its value. However, Lavish says this is just beginning. Comparing the initial years to the current widespread interest and investment with a giant spotlight on Bitcoin ETFs, he highlights this being a significant development in the financial ecosystem. Lavish believes this will underscore Bitcoin's enduring relevance as an asset and its potential as a hedge against currency devaluation. By the end of 2025, there will be 1.1 billion active crypto wallets. The pace of growth is hard to comprehend, and it will be the fastest accumulation of wealth we have ever seen. This is the conclusion of a career's worth of research. And every single chart and piece of research leads to the same conclusion. Liquidity drives everything, and crypto will be the best performing asset of them all. Now,
Not all of them, some of them. A handful of them will do very well, I think. That's my thesis. It's the Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, that my hedge fund, that's what we believe. And we're invested in some of these because we believe that. Not all of them. We're not invested in every single treasury company, but we're invested in a select number of them that we believe in. So I think that there's some rotation going there. Brandon, that's coming out of Bitcoin, going into these treasury companies, and is being washed back into Bitcoin as it happens. That's why you're seeing the price kind of grind sideways, higher, a little bit lower, sideways. It's kind of grinding here from 100 to 120. It's been in this range since May, basically. It dipped down a little bit in June, but since May, it's been in that range. It was in the 100 to 110 level, and then it moved up in July from 110 to 120. It's been between there and 110, 111, somewhere in there since the beginning of July. And I think what you're seeing is this rotation out, some OGs that are moving out of Bitcoin and into the treasury companies. And some of them are joining boards and doing that stuff and creating these treasury companies themselves. I mean, Adam Back is doing one. So first of all, the MNAV that you're talking about, the multiple on the underlying Bitcoin on their balance sheet, that's MNAV, multiple on the NAV of the Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We've seen these things fluctuate around. We started buying MicroStrategy when the MNAV was 1.2, but we talked to them. We talked to Michael and we talked to Sharish, their treasurer, who helped implement this strategy, was spearheading it for them. We understood what they were trying to do and what their goal was and what their goal is, and so we still believe that. He's created all kinds of strategies around it. So MicroStrategy is a kind of a special situation because they're so far ahead of everybody else. They've got over 600,000 Bitcoin now. And so, and they've got access to capital markets that other companies just don't have. Not all of them, some of them do. CEP 21 certainly does with the involvement of Cantor and Jack Mallers' new play there. But there's all kinds of different ways that these companies can create the ability to buy more Bitcoin. And it's using converts, which can actively dampen the volatility. Well, it actually dampens it holds the price of the stock down, because as you issue a convert, there are convert arbitrage traders that will buy the convert and then short the stock in order to delta hedge it, and like what's called the optimal hedge around owning that convertible bond, because it can be converted into stock at a certain price, so they'll trade around that. Or you could do preferred shares like MicroStrategy is doing, and that is not dilutive to the stock. It doesn't put pressure on the stock, because you're basically saying that we're going to pay you a dividend off of the future, basically the future price of Bitcoin. And so that's a special case. But there are other cases, like Metaplanet came out and was basically the only proxy for Bitcoin in all of Japan. So if you were a retirement account or an investor that wanted to buy Bitcoin but couldn't get it into your brokerage, you could buy Metaplanet and get a proxy to that.
Lavish anticipates that the crypto summer will continue its parabolic run. As we stand on the edge of the winter months, the crypto market is poised for a meteoric surge in prices. He illustrates Bitcoin's current undervaluation, drawing in investors and enticing speculators eager to ride the waves of September's price fluctuations in pursuit of profits. His outlook is fueled by the impending wave of mass adoption, which he believes presents an unparalleled opportunity to get in on the action. What's more, he highlights the intriguing historical pattern of Bitcoin's value surging 10x with each halving event. With the next bull market, and with crypto and technology being the biggest investments this year, Lavish says that he's remaining bullish on digital assets after significantly increasing his position size during the last bear market. What do you think about James Lavish's prediction for Bitcoin, the crypto market cap, and the institutional capital pouring into the space? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this. We'll see you in the next video.